Story 1. I'm a wildlife photographer by trade. Over the years, I've trekked through dozens of forests, from the dense redwoods of California to the frost-bitten stretches of the Canadian Yukon. I've slept in tents, inches from howling wolves, and once snapped a photo of a bobcat just 5 feet from where I stood. No zoom. I chase raw nature, solitude, that moment when the world stops buzzing with human noise, and you remember we were never the dominant species out there. But nothing I've experienced comes close to what happened in the Black Pines. It was late October when I decided to document the old-growth region deep inside the Black Pines Reserve. The forest was about 80 miles from the nearest town, only accessible by a winding, unmarked trail that hadn't seen much foot traffic in decades. I'd heard rumors from rangers, odd sightings, strange animal behavior, and one guy even mentioned hearing what he described as a mimic. Said he caught the sound of his own voice echoing back at him in places where it shouldn't have. Naturally, I thought it was all nonsense. Forest superstition. I packed light, one-person tent, solar battery pack, thermal gear, and my Nikon D850. No guns. I never carry. Just a knife, more for utility than defense. I wanted to spend 3 nights out there, shooting whatever wildlife I could catch in the autumn fog. The first day went smooth. I hiked in, set up camp near a shallow ravine lined with moss-covered stones, and spent the evening photographing birds moving in their fall migrations. The forest was eerily quiet, but that didn't strike me as strange. Many remote forests can feel like that, like the trees themselves are holding their breath. That night, I heard footsteps outside my tent. They were heavy, deliberate, not the erratic scurry of deer or raccoons. These sounded bipedal. I froze, listening. I whispered, "Hello?" thinking maybe a ranger or another hiker had stumbled through. No answer, but the footsteps stopped. Just stopped outside my tent flap. I lay there, knife gripped in my hand, barely breathing. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I yanked the zipper down and shone my flashlight outside. Nothing. Just trees and wet leaves. I scanned the area, slowly. About 20 feet from my tent, I saw a figure. Tall, motionless, facing away. I called out again. No response. I stepped out cautiously, light trained on it. As I inched closer, the figure didn't move. But something was wrong with it. Its limbs looked elongated. Its legs were too long, and its arms hung almost to its knees. The proportions were subtly off, like a sculpture done by someone who'd never seen a real human. Then it moved, not turned, just twitched, like it had heard something. Its head turned slowly, unnaturally far, until I could see its face. It was my face. Or more accurately, a version of it. Dead-eyed, expressionless, and pale like uncooked dough. I staggered backward, dropped my flashlight. When I picked it up again, the thing was gone. No sound, no footprints, just wet leaves. I packed everything and didn't sleep the rest of the night. At dawn, I started hiking back. But the forest didn't look the same. I followed my marked GPS trail. It showed me on the right path, but nothing around me was familiar. The ravine? Gone. The fallen birch I stepped over on the way in? Gone. The moss, the ridge, the sun filtering through the pines. Different. It was like the forest had reshuffled itself. Panic crept in. I kept walking, trying to trust the GPS, but hours passed, and I ended up right back where I'd camped. Tent stakes still in the ground. My breath turned to fog in the air as the temperature dropped unnaturally fast for mid-morning. Then I saw it again, standing in the exact spot it had the night before. This time, it faced me. Still my face, still wrong. Its mouth began to move. Slowly, stiffly, but instead of speaking, it opened its mouth wider. Wider than should be possible. I heard a sound, but not from its mouth. From behind me. I turned and saw another one. Same height, same face, but this one was closer. Then another. Then another. All of them, me. I ran. I dropped the GPS, the knife, everything but my camera. I didn't even know where I was going. My boots smashed through shallow streams, tore through brush, snapped branches. I just ran. Eventually, I collapsed near a strange clearing I hadn't seen before. It was perfect, circular. The trees bent inward, their tops forming a kind of dome, like they were protecting whatever was in the middle. And in the center was a mirror, tall, wooden frame, ancient-looking, standing upright in the middle of the forest. I knew I should have run the other way. Every fiber of me screamed to go. But something about it drew me in. I stepped closer. My reflection stared back. But it wasn't me. The face was calm, expressionless. The background behind the reflection didn't match the clearing. It showed something else. A burned forest, ash-covered ground, smoke curling in the air. Then the reflection smiled. I didn't. Its hand lifted, fingers pointing behind me. I turned. Nothing. I looked back. Now the reflection was closer, like it had moved within the mirror, leaning closer to the glass, whispering. Except I heard it inside my own head. Leave it behind. That's all it said. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up 2 days later at a ranger's outpost, dehydrated, covered in scrapes, and missing 2 toes to frostbite. They said I was lucky. They found me wandering barefoot 10 miles from the marked trail, muttering to myself. I don't remember leaving the forest, but I haven't touched a camera since. And when I pass a mirror now, sometimes I feel like I'm the one behind the glass, just waiting. Story 2. I used to be a fire watch volunteer in the Bitterroot Range of Montana. It was a seasonal gig, mostly summer to early fall. You sit in a wooden tower perched above the treetops, scanning the horizon for smoke plumes. You log weather updates. You radio in anything suspicious. For the most part, it's long hours of absolute silence. The kind of silence that only exists in places the world forgot. I took the job because I needed solitude. A few months earlier, my brother had died in a car crash. We were close. Too close, maybe. I needed time away from people, from noise, from my own thoughts. I figured a fire lookout tower, 40 miles from the nearest gas station, was as far away as I could get without disappearing completely. The tower I was assigned to was called Buckhorn 6, built in the 50s, refurbished in the early 2000s. A narrow staircase led up to a glass and wood cubicle that gave you 360-degree views of thick forest and sheer ridges. They say on a clear day, you could see all the way into Idaho. The first few weeks were uneventful. Morning coffee, radio check-ins, journal entries, quiet. Nights were long, but I'd gotten used to the isolation quickly. I even started to enjoy it. Then, around mid-September, the dreams began. Always the same. I'd be standing on the tower deck at night, barefoot, the wood slick with dew. There'd be a soft tapping behind me, not on the glass, from inside the walls. I'd turn and see a shape curled up beneath the floorboards. Just a glimpse of its back, hairless, pale, arched like a spider curling in on itself. Then I'd wake up. The dreams escalated. I'd wake up standing by the window, or worse, at the base of the tower stairs with no memory of walking down. I started padlocking the cabin door from the inside at night, just in case. One night, I was scanning the tree line with binoculars after a lightning storm when I saw something strange. A figure, deep in the woods, still as a statue. No hat, no gear, just standing in the rain, head tilted back as if listening for something. I radioed it in. The response was casual. Could be a lost hiker. Keep an eye on it. But I watched for nearly an hour, and the figure never moved. Not an inch. Then, just as I lowered the binoculars for a second, it was gone. I scanned the whole tree line. Nothing. That night, I locked every latch on the cabin, secured the shutters, slept with the emergency radio beside my pillow. Just after 3 a.m., I woke to scratching. Not on the outside of the tower, from underneath it. The tower's base is supported by thick stilts drilled into rock. There's nothing beneath it but air. But the sound was unmistakable, like something climbing up the underside, slowly dragging nails across wood. I grabbed my flashlight and crept to the trap door leading to the stairs. I waited. The scratching stopped. Then a knock. 3 sharp knocks on the floorboards, right beneath my feet. I yelled out, demanding to know who was there. No answer, just a low groan, like a voice pushed through static. I stayed up till daylight. At dawn, I radioed in for a supply drop and a ride out. They told me it would be 2 days. I agreed. against my better judgment, to wait it out. That evening, as the sun set and the sky bruised purple, I spotted something again. At the base of the tower, standing completely still. Looking up, it was the figure from the woods. But now I could see its face, and it was mine. Not just similar, it was my face, but pale, bloated, like a body pulled from a river. Its eyes were too wide, mouth slack. It didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. Then it opened its mouth. I expected a scream, a howl, anything. Instead, it said, "I miss you too." That was the last thing my brother ever said to me. In a voicemail, the night before the crash. I backed away, stumbled to the radio, and screamed into the mic for help. Dead static. No response. I looked back out. The thing was gone. I scanned the staircase below. Empty. But I could still feel it. Like a pressure in the air. Like something holding its breath in the same room. Then I noticed something terrifying. On the windows, inside the glass, there were handprints. Not just one or two. Dozens. Some small, some large. All pressed flat against the inside of the glass. Even though the cabin had been locked tight. I turned and saw the trapdoor was open. The padlock snapped clean in half, lying on the floor. I didn't wait. I grabbed my emergency flare, the one you're not supposed to use unless you're dying. I fired it out the window into the trees. The light burned red across the forest floor. For a moment, I thought I saw movement again. Something scuttling back into the woods, too fast to track. By morning, a ranger helicopter arrived. I didn't speak on the ride back. I left everything behind. Gear, clothes, journals. I told them I'd had a panic episode. Maybe altitude stress. I don't know if they believed me, but I never went back. A year later, I read an article about Buckhorn 6. They shut it down. Apparently, the next volunteer vanished. Found weeks later, dead at the base of the tower, neck broken, barefoot. What was strange, they said, was how calm his face looked, like he'd seen someone he loved. Story 3. I used to hike the Appalachian sections of the Blue Ridge every fall. It was a tradition. Just me, my backpack, and the silence. No phone signal, no work emails, no city hum. Just the rustle of wind through amber leaves, the crunch of dirt under boots, and the slow, deliberate breathing that comes with climbing ancient trails. Last October, I decided to take a less-traveled spur trail through an offshoot of Pisgah National Forest. A ranger I chatted with at a gas station warned me it had been closed off a few years back due to a few incidents. He didn't elaborate, just advised I stick to marked routes. But I've never been good at listening when my curiosity's involved. The trail was overgrown, but manageable. Fallen trees, eroded paths, some washed-out bridges. I saw no one for miles, which didn't bother me. In fact, it felt like I had stepped into a pocket of untouched time. Late that afternoon, the weather shifted. Fog rolled in fast, unnatural, thick, low, like it was hugging the ground. Visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet. I decided to make camp early. I found a clearing, just wide enough for my one-man tent, and set up quickly before the last light disappeared. That night, the forest changed. It started with a sound. Not an animal, not wind. It was whistling. Soft, inconsistent. A broken little melody, like someone trying to remember a tune they hadn't heard in years. It circled my tent. Not fast, almost like pacing. I lay there, heart hammering. Every part of me said not to move, not to make a sound. I gripped my pocket knife like it would actually help if someone or something decided to cut through the nylon walls. Then came the laughter. Not loud, not maniacal. A child's laugh. Delicate, breathless, like a giggle caught in your throat. I whispered, "Hello?" It stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than the fog. Like even the trees were waiting. Then, right by my head, just inches from the tent wall, came a whisper. "You're not supposed to be here." I bolted upright and tore open the tent flap with my flashlight in hand. The beam cut through the mist, revealing nothing. No footprints, no shadows, just fog. I stayed up the rest of the night, spine locked against the tent wall, knife in one hand, light in the other. When morning came, the fog hadn't lifted, and neither had my anxiety. I packed up and started back the way I came, or tried to. The trail was gone. No markers, no impressions, no familiar rocks or trees, just endless forest and fog. I retraced my GPS route, but it kept recalculating, showing loops that didn't make sense. I was going in circles. By early afternoon, I found something I hadn't seen before. An old house. Not a cabin, a house. Deep in the forest, covered in ivy and rot, windows dark and boarded, door half open, like it had been waiting for someone. Against my better judgment, I approached. I called out. No response. Inside, the air was thick, stagnant. The house had a single room, one dusty cot, a cracked mirror above a rusted sink, and a dozen photographs nailed to the walls. I stepped closer. The photos were all the same. Different people, different times. But all of them were standing in front of this house. All of them looked terrified. Eyes wide, caught mid-turn, as if something was behind them. In one, a woman's hand blurred as she reached toward the camera. In another, a man bled from the nose, mouth open like he was screaming. And in the last one, the most recent by the look of the paper, was me. Same clothes, same backpack, standing just a few feet outside the house, frozen in black and white. I stumbled back, slammed into the wall, and heard footsteps upstairs. But there were no stairs. I ran, back into the fog, the trees, the nothing. At some point, I blacked out. Whether from panic or something else, I don't know. I woke up 2 days later at a ranger station. Hikers had found me lying across a log bridge, miles from the closed trail. My gear was shredded, camera smashed, tent gone. The ranger who found me asked a question I'll never forget. "Did you see the girl?" I stared at him, not speaking. He continued, "Most who go down that way say they see a girl first. Blonde hair, maybe 10 years old, lost, crying, but she's never really there." I didn't respond. I couldn't, because I had seen her, in the trees the day I veered off trail. Just a blur of yellow dress and pale hair. I thought it was a deer, maybe a fox, something moving fast. But it wasn't. And now, when I try to sleep, I hear whistling, the same broken tune, night after night. Sometimes it comes from the woods behind my house, and sometimes it comes from inside the walls.